Hola, hola, my name is Ramon, cosmetic chemist, esthetician, always on the hunt for a good mattifying sunscreen. Recently, I noticed a lot of European brands launching sunscreens with claims around matte effects, great for blemish-prone skin, oil controlling, and as someone who is acne-prone and oily AF, I'm always looking for a sunscreen that will actually be matte, keep me matte, control shine. So today, as the title suggests, we're talking about a new launch from Nivea. This is their Derma Skin Clear. What is the full name of this? It's a long name. I actually don't know the full name of this. It's like I have 4 different versions of this. Derma Blemish Control Anti-Blemish Complex Sun Fluid SPF 50+. I bought this during the same trip that I bought the Ryman P21. I was at a Boots down in Greenwich in London and I saw this and I decided to pick it up just because, again, I noticed a lot of the other brands that were launching their matte sunscreens were actually under the L'Oreal group. This was Nivea, who's under Beiersdorf, so completely separate brand, launching a very similar marketing concept sunscreen. So let's talk about it. The claims around this, so first of all, this is 40 ml. I bought this on sale, but it's £14.50 in London and Boots right now on the website. The marketing is the Nivea Sun Derma Blemish Control Sun Fluid is specially developed for delicate facial skin. It protects against UV rays from high energy visible light effects such as premature skin aging. It's light, non-greasy fluid with anti-blemish complex and niacinamide, prevents blemishes by absorbing the excess oil from skin surface. It gives an 8-hour matte effect and healthy looking moisturized skin with 0% sticky feel. So as with all my sunscreen reviews, since this is a chemical sunscreen, I'll be using my 6F testing rubric where we talk about the feel, finish, filters, formulation, foundation wear, and fragrance depending on what part of the video you want to watch. You can fast forward to those. I'll have those down in the description box. On top of that, for the application, I put on as much sunscreen as I need for my face size. If you want to know how much sunscreen you should be putting on for your face size, I'll have a card up here. Starting with the application, you can see it comes out. It's a very thin lotion. I wouldn't say milky texture, so it's like a thin yogurty lotion texture. It's a very easy lightweight texture to work in. You can see a couple swipes and it's already pretty much melted into my skin. I work it in and not a lot of elbow grease, works in very easy, no eye sting, no irritation around the eye area. And when I look and let it sit, I notice there's a radiance to this, there's a glow to this. It's not matte, but I say, you know what, benefit of the doubt, keep going. Overall, working into the skin, it's very easy. That amount I need for my face melts into my skin, no issue, very minimal effort. It's one of those you could just messily apply it, it's gonna sink in. So I love that. The feel of it is going to be very lightweight. It just feels like a hydrating gel on the skin. It's very watery feeling on the skin, so it's weightless, it's hydrating. The alcohol in this, spoiler alert, gives it a nice cooling effect on the skin, but the finish of it is just a slightly radiant, even after I apply it full face and let it sit. And I use this pretty much, I use this for the good part of like 10 days on and off to really try to get a good experience of it. Elegance wise, it feels good if you have oily skin, but finish wise, I'm not seeing those matte claims. For the filters of this, it's a European sunscreen, so you do have avobenzone, Evenol T150, Tinosorb S, Evenol A+, and Ensilazole for that SPF 50+ protection. The box for this does actually designate as UVA 4 stars based on the Boots star rating system. So considering it's SPF 50+, that's actually a really good UVA rating. And then in terms of the formulation aspects of this, it has glycerin, it has vitamin E, it has 2 extracts very specific to Beiersdorf. You see them in the Eucerin sunscreens as well. This has carnitine, which is a good ingredient for the appearance of shine and oil. It has a couple licorice-based extracts, which are really good for boosting antioxidant protection. Those are the claims that they make around the blue light protection. I always just say the evidence for a lot of botanical-based blue light protection to me isn't like 100% there. So unless I see iron oxides in the formula, I'm not going to make a blue light protecting claim. Therefore, I'm just going to say it boosts the antioxidant protection that you're going to get from a sunscreen, which is never a problem for me. And then it does have that niacinamide that it claims. Therefore, just note that it's something to be wary of. If that's an ingredient you are more sensitive to or have elsewhere in your routine. And niacinamide, if you're not aware, it's great for a lot of things. The appearance of redness, supporting skin moisturization, but specifically for oily, blemish-prone skin, it's another ingredient that can help with the appearance of shine and oil, as well as helping with blemishes themselves. This does also, again, it makes this anti-blemish complex claim. I cannot pinpoint any specific extracts or what in this formula that will specifically target blemishes like that. Like when I see that, I think of an anti-acne claim, which is a claim in itself that not a lot of brands can or should make, but it's one thing where if you can look up a complex, you can see like, oh, in vitro or ex vivo studies showcase a reduction in the appearance of blemishes or comedones or whatever. Nothing in the formulation designates that, but there are some mattifiers in this formula, but mattifiers that aren't necessarily unique to this sunscreen. I've seen them in other Eucerin sunscreens or other European sunscreens altogether. So in that, I'm like, interesting. And then in terms of foundation wear, this is, again, it's a hydrating texture. It's a light milky lotion texture. It preps the skin really nicely for makeup in that regard, and that it's lightly nourishing nourishing without being heavy or greasy. So it's a nice primer base. It's a little bit tacky when it dries down, so it's good for gripping the foundation. And then it doesn't affect the wear of makeup throughout the day. So it's not going to make your foundation get more shiny or look weird on the face as the day progresses. The makeup wears really well on top of this. And I will say this is a texture that could potentially reapply over foundation really, really nicely if you use a sponge or something. So that is a plus. And then this does have alcohol. It does have fragrance. This is not water or sweat resistant, so do note all those things. It is perfumed. The scent of this, it's a very standard like Nivea sun scent. It's perfumey. It's a little bit stronger than I would like. It's very fresh though, which is nice. And I will say the scent doesn't linger for a long time. Once the ethanol dissipates and the sets down, the fragrance does dissipate. You just get really used to it, but it is perfumed. Just note that. I did mention this had no eye sting issues with me. I find it sets really easily around the eye area, so I don't worry about it running into my eye. That being said, if you're like rubbing up in your eye area and get it into your eye, it will sting, but it also does have avobenzone. So if you're more sensitive to that ingredient as well with eye sting, that could be something worth keeping an eye on. So overall, the Nivea Sun Blemish something sun fluid. Overall experience wise, if I get rid of the marketing, the experience of this was positive, but then I look at the marketing itself and I'm like, this is nothing that Nivea didn't necessarily have already outside of the milky texture of this. They have their other oil control sunscreen, which is a lotiony, creamy texture. Same claims around oil control wear. It's not mattifying. This is not mattifying in the least to me. In terms of, this is not on the Nivea website itself, it's only on the Boots website, and some of the claims around this aren't consistent with the marketing around the actual sunscreen itself. So for example, on the Boots product benefits section, it does say developed for normal to combination skin, but then it's a matte sunscreen. So I'm like, if it's matte, I would imagine that's for oily skin. Maybe that's why it's not matte on me, because it's not meant for actually oily skin. And then it says convenient, handy 50 ml tube. This is a 40 ml sunscreen, so maybe something's off there. This is lightweight. It feels nice on the skin. It's very fresh. It preps the skin nice for makeup. No white cast on deep skin. But for $14.50, and I see these claims around 8-hour matte effect, dry touch. I want to see those benefits, and I'm not getting those benefits. So this sunscreen is nothing that doesn't already exist to me. And then on top of that, what's interesting is there's a claim that it gives an 8-hour matte effect, but then it also claims healthy looking moisturized skin. And those two claims, a matte effect and healthy moisturized looking skin, those worlds don't overlap necessarily. So there's an inconsistency in that. So overall, I was disappointed in the sunscreen just because the sunscreen didn't live up to what the claims were saying it would do. And I want a matte sunscreen. If it says 8-hour matte effect, I want a matte sunscreen. And the irony is Nivea is under Beiersdorf. Beiersdorf also owns Eucerin. Eucerin's oil control sunscreen here in Europe is a gorgeous matte gel formula. So I'm like, the formula, the technology already exists underneath this like parent company. Why couldn't they just make that the same situation for this? So I was very disappointed in that. And I just wonder what the thought behind this was, claiming that 8-hour matte effect, especially because even on the box, it does say dry touch fluid. And I'm just like, did Beiersdorf see all the L'Oreal sunscreens with those matte claims and we're like, oh, we need to hurry up and launch this sunscreen with those claims too, without the actual testing behind it necessarily? Because what's interesting is also that when L'Oreal launched the Garnier sunscreen I just reviewed on my channel, which was a gorgeous formula, they had actual, it looked like clinicals behind it. I wouldn't say like clinicals, but like they did some sort of testing on the sunscreen itself to be able to say, oh, we saw a reduction in this by X%, a minimization of this by X%. This doesn't have that. So it feels like they maybe like just rushed this launch just to compete with the L'Oreal brands. But all that being said, this was an okay sunscreen for what it is, but didn't live up to the claims. Therefore, I'm very disappointed in that regard. Elegant sunscreen, but I will also concede for the protection you get, again, SPF 50+, 4-star Boots UVA protection, not water or sweat resistant. It is fairly elegant for all those things as well. So I think I gave it a B when I gave it an Instagram review. I think I'm gonna stay with that like C+ B- range just because it's not a bad sunscreen. But let me know in the comment section, have you tried this from Nivea? What your thoughts on it are they different from mine? Was it actually matte for you? When I say it wasn't matte, I mean, I've tried this with no skincare underneath, just this on bare skin with other skincare products underneath it. Like it was not matte. The matte was not matting. But sound off in the comments if you tried it, had a different experience. As always, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, notification bell, so that you know when I post more skincare, sunscreen, and beauty related content on my channel. Give the video a thumbs up, and thanks for watching, guys. Bye.